Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. If you've ever felt like your voice didn't matter, like your story wasn't worth sharing, you're not alone. At the Empowerography Live in-person conference this year, we brought together voices from around the world, women who chose to stand up, speak out, and share stories that changed lives. And here's the truth. Your voice matters too. If you've ever felt that pull to share your story as a guest on a podcast, to start your own podcast, or step into your power, this isn't random. It is your invitation. Head over to empowerographypodcast.com and see how you can turn your voice into impact, because your story isn't just yours. It's someone else's survival guide. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography podcast, a platform that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. Today, my guest is Diana Bejasa. She travels the country and the world helping men and women in executive positions overcome adversity and cultivate sustainable work-life balance, both personally and professionally, using proven, reliable, and repeatable techniques, including manifestation and energy psychology. Welcome, Diana. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Brad. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
I am so excited and honored to have you here today. Thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today. We have been working on getting this recorded for a while. It's been a while, as you mentioned before we jumped on, that it's been a while since we've talked. So it's great to finally have you here. I am so excited to jump in and share about all the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you're doing. So with that being said, let's get started. So typically, when someone steps into doing this type of work and helping others, there was a catalyst moment for that person that shifted everything for them and redirected them into the work that they do. What was that moment for you, if you don't mind sharing?
I love this question, Brad, because it wasn't like one moment. It was like sometimes I'm like, seriously, can I get a stop on these catalyst moments? So I'm just gonna mention a couple, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So
Absolutely.
First was surviving 9/11 when I was a child. So I was a student in high school, went to school 2 blocks away from the World Trade Center, and I was in my senior year. So if you can imagine yourself in your senior year of high school, like first week of the year, right? Basically, because it's September 11th. You're thinking about college. You're thinking about the cute person in your class that you're attracted to, right? Like you're thinking about maybe your first week outfits because those things are fresh, right? You're not thinking about how long am I going to live? Then all of that changed for me in like an instant, where I realized like that the things that I thought that mattered in that moment clearly became irrelevant, right? And the things that mattered that really mattered became clear. And that was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to see my family again. I don't know if I'm ever going to hug my friends. Are they okay? Are we going to be okay? Like all those things just dissolved. All the things I thought mattered dissolved, and what mattered became clear to me. And obviously everything was okay.
Yeah.
But that feeling stuck with me, where when I hit crisis, I tend to kind of look at, okay, what's really important here? And where am I bogged down by the stuff that seems important and isn't? So that was one of the first catalysts. And the next was I was working on Wall Street at the time of the global financial crisis. And I saw many of my colleagues lose their jobs. And I realized, yes, I have this high-powered job that's very prestigious. And like I do love the work of business after I've gone to business school and all that. But I was like, I don't really love who I'm serving. I don't love that I'm helping Fortune 500 executives like at Walmart or Procter and Gamble or elsewhere make more money. Like it wasn't my favorite to be like serving DuPont and Monsanto. It's just me. And I was like, if I think about it, if I were really doing something I'm passionate about, this is like totally out of left field. Yeah, I could go into working at a hedge fund or something like that, but I feel called to cooking. And it made no sense. But at the same time, it made perfect sense because I would go home after 14-hour days, 6 days a week, and I would turn the oven on and I would cook something. And that was like a place where when I felt completely depleted, I could still find energy and like passion.
Mhm.
So I was like, I'm smart, I'm hardworking. Yeah, this is a tough industry, but like I have what it takes to succeed here. So I went to culinary school, worked as a chef, did really well in that career as well. Got to open lots of different restaurants for other people. I also
Uh-huh.
I worked at a Michelin-starred restaurant, got to cook for President Obama and lots of people whose names I can't tell you. Like it was I did really well up until
Mhm.
the point that I was opening I was opening, I think it was like 9 restaurants in 2 states on the same day.
Wow.
And I woke up that morning and I had a huge bald spot on the side of my head here. And I did what I think
Yeah.
a lot of us do when there's a personal crisis, but we have a lot of other people relying on us. And what I did was I just brushed it aside, pretended it wasn't there, and took care of business.
Mm.
But afterwards, when I was talking to people about it, I heard many of them kind of tell me, oh, that's normal. Just get the shots to the head and the hair will grow back. But that word normal, I was just like,
Mhm.
normal? Do I want to accept this as normal? Am I going to let this be my normal? In our own lives, there can be something that seems normal or that we have
Mhm.
normalized. Is it what you want to accept as normal? And that moment kind of changed things for me where I realized I didn't want to accept this as normal. And I started looking for a different path where I was like, I'm still
Mhm.
ambitious. I still have lots of things I want to do. I hold high standards and I don't want to give them up, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my health, my relationships, my sanity, and my sleep for this anymore. So I was like,
Yeah.
I want all of it and I don't want to give up on any other things, but obviously I got to make some changes. So that was another catalyst for me that led me into coaching and owning my own business and moving to Hawaii. So that was definitely a big catalyst.
Wow.
But I'm not done, Brad. I told you. Can I stop? Can I stop with the catalysts? But last one was when I was in my first trimester, pregnant with my first child. I had
Mm.
put off having a kid for a long while. I was married at the time. My ex decided he didn't want to have a kid anymore. Filed for divorce papers like a month after returning home from Vegas with a friend. And I
Wow.
was like completely blindsided. I had the thoughts of why don't I just cut and run? And honestly,
Mm.
Brad, I've done that many times, right? I cut and run from banking. I cut and run from culinary when things got hard. And not
Mhm.
that I couldn't have continued. I'm very glad that I didn't continue there. But in this space with a child, I was like, I actually had an abortion scheduled.
Wow.
And I thought about it and I was like, you know what I teach my clients in coaching is if you're making a decision from a place of fear or negative emotion, like you're likely to regret that choice later. So if
Mm.
you're not able
Yeah.
to make a decision that's clear, it's not a time to make a decision that's
Mhm.
important. Like obviously you still got to make some decisions, but
Yes.
so I was like, okay, I'm taking this question or this decision out of my hands. I'm an old mom. It's technically like a geriatric pregnancy or whatever. It's high risk, all this stuff. If this is not supposed to happen, I'm just going to put it in God's hands and let him decide. I'm going to
Mhm.
take the question out of mine and I'm going to do what I can to make it happen because this is what I had made this decision when I was in a better emotional state.
Yep.
I'm going to hold with this decision and I'm going to just I have no idea how to do this, and it deepened my spirituality, it deepened my relationship with family. Like it changed so many things, but that was another catalyst that led me to this place where I am now, where I've been living as a single mom where I have my daughter like pretty much every night for the past 3
Mhm.
years. And I still have those big goals and dreams and the things that I want to achieve, but man, is my time, energy, and focus constricted in a
Sure.
way where like I'm very happy to be able to put so much focus and intention with my daughter. But again, like I said,
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that I don't have the big goals and the ambitions and all the
No, of
things.
course.
And that led me to where I am now, where I'm like, I'm realizing that I have all these tools for success, but there's a certain degree where I'm not willing to give up on all that stuff, but I also have to realize my real life constraints. And this led me to this process of figuring out, okay, how do I design around real life and what's not working
Mhm.
and what feels like it's been impossible to achieve because I know it's possible, but trying to just go at it in the same way where I keep hitting a wall wasn't working. And so
Yeah.
that's been the most recent catalyst. And really, I hope that they're done. I really hope they're done.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure it's enough already.
Yeah.
Time to stop. Let's just move forward
Please.
without the catalyst. The life-altering moments, I've had enough for now. At least give me a bit of a break.
No, I'm really done. I really hope so. But okay, fine. If more come, sure, but can they not be so big?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So if I had met you at the peak of your corporate success, the degrees, the titles, the credentials intact, what truth about your inner world would I or anybody else for that matter never have seen?
I think it was probably that feeling of misalignment with who I was serving, and that I was using my talent in a way that, yeah, I was getting paid well, yeah, I had a title, all the things that like look good that you want to hit on your checklist. But
Mhm,
when I looked deep at it, I didn't have the fulfillment and the satisfaction of doing something that felt really meaningful. So now getting to help other people who feel like they are constrained, but at the same time realizing that they still have more that they want has been
mhm,
really meaningful for me. So I feel like it's part of that too was some feelings of like misalignment with how with this idea of hard work. Like a lot of times one of the common success mantras or things that we're taught is hard work is part of success. And
mm,
I definitely had worked hard and do work hard. But at the same time, I was like, it's not, this formula is not adding up. I'm a math person
no.
because I know a lot, like, I have a lot of immigrant family who are very hardworking, who don't make a lot of money. So this isn't
Uh-huh,
all the equation. And it led me to want to figure out, like, what else is there to this equation? It's not just success. More hard work equals more success. Like, where's
uh-huh.
the disconnect? And I feel like that's been what God, the universe is trying to teach me through all these catalyst moments.
Yeah, I think that's a bullshit narrative that we have been conditioned to
Yeah.
believe for a very long time that hard work equals success. And sure, you got to work hard, but you don't have to work yourself to the bone or work 80 hours a week or work 90 hours a week to be successful. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
If you're doing something you love, like you said, in alignment with what you want and what your heart and soul want, then it's not going to be hard work and you will be successful because when you're doing something you love and you're doing it from a place of being in and of service and from passion and true love for it, the money will come. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
But we make it so fucking difficult as humans that this hustle culture bullshit that we've been fed, it's all lies. It's not true. And we're seeing a shift, which I think is amazing. We're seeing a shift in that paradigm and that way of doing things where people are awakening to realize that, wait a minute, this, just like you said, this doesn't add up. What do you mean hard work equals success? There's lots of people that I know that work very hard and they don't have all this money. So like you said, to your point, where is the disconnect there? You're living out of alignment with what you're doing, right? Which is so important. And there's so many people out there in the world that live so far out of alignment. And it's sad. I truly wish that every person on this planet could find their soul's purpose because when you do that, your whole life changes.
Yeah. You're proof positive of that, Brad, right? You're you doing the thing. And I want to give 2 points, if it's okay, to support what you're
Yeah.
saying. First is I used to be a chef, so I think of everything through the lens of food. And when you talk about people and their purpose, I think of God's creation in terms of all these different ingredients he gave us in the world.
Uh-huh.
And all of them have a place and a purpose. And it's our job in this place of thinking that, oh, I'm in this small country or on this island and all I have is this, using what it is that we have available to us to come up with something that works for us in the
Uh-huh.
space that we're in. And when we do that, what happens as a result is we come up with these very unique cuisines, right? Things that
Yeah.
become defined by the region that they're in, right? Think it, if you can think it from the more Eurocentric model of terroir, those things. But if you look across the world, you can see each culture is defined and influenced by its history, by what's been available to it. And that celebration is what makes it unique. And that's what we have the opportunity to do as human beings is figure out what's my unique sauce or my unique
Uh-huh.
recipe or
Yeah.
my signature cuisine, but from a purpose perspective. And then when you were talking, gosh, for a second, I lost my second thought. Oh no, I know what it
It's
is.
okay.
Okay, so you were talking about hustle culture.
Yeah.
Okay, so I find that as people are stepping away from hustle culture, I want to hopefully help some people avoid another extreme that people tend to go to, which is slow down culture. The
Okay.
reason I think that it's important to have this conversation is because hustle culture and slow down culture are two opposite sides of the same coin. And
Mm-hmm.
it still points to this idea of effort is the solution, either more effort or less effort. And I'm not saying that all the more effort is the solution, but also no effort is also not the solution. And we have to come to the
Yeah.
balance of it, right? Like almost everything when you look at the I Ching or when you look at life is really about finding some form of balance. And
Mm-hmm.
and when I look at that, it is this finding of like, I'm not saying don't adjust your hustle to nothing, right?
Yeah.
Don't swing the pendulum all the other way, but come up with and realize that if you're doing that, like all you're doing is just you're stuck in the same paradigm, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
What I find that it is, if you still have that ambition and those things, it's figuring out structure. And can I give one more idea behind structure that it's another food thing, but I find that it's like for me it helps with people really understanding this concept. And Brad, my first question in order to do that for you is what
Mm-hmm.
toppings do you like? So say I was to ask you to make your
Mm-hmm.
own pizza, right? We're in a pizzeria, you're behind the scenes of me. We have you I give you a dough ball
Mm-hmm.
and there's every ingredient is available to you. What are you putting on your pizza?
I like mushrooms, onion, like red onions, green peppers, spicy sausage, and that'll do.
Okay,
Those.
good. Yeah. So a lot of times when I ask people, because I've made many pizzas with people, one of the biggest mistakes that many of them do is they put every topping on top of the pizza, right? And I see you're
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I don't want all the toppings. I want my toppings. And
Mm-hmm.
that is a man of restraint. I appreciate that. Like a lot of people, they put all the toppings on. And then I tell
Mm-hmm.
them to hold back, but I also am like, all right, you want to see what happens? Let's see, right? Because that's life, right? And that's the fun
Yeah.
of cooking or life. You get to choose and then you get to see. And so when they
Mm-hmm.
put that pizza that's overloaded with like all the pepperoni and the sausage and the onions and the peppers and the mushrooms, and then they put spinach on there because they think their pizza has to be healthy or whatever. And then maybe they put some pineapple, I don't know, whatever. So they put all the stuff on the pizza. They
Mm-hmm.
stick it in the oven. And one of two things happens. Okay. So either the toppings on top actually cook through, which in
Mm-hmm.
order for it to do all that, the bottom ends up burnt because it wasn't supposed to hold all that topping on top.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or the bottom, sorry, or the top, or things don't actually cook through and the bottom ends up raw and
Mm-hmm.
ripped apart. So that bottom is us. And if we overload ourselves, we either end up burnt and bitter or
Yeah.
raw and ripped apart. And that's what happens to us. And I think that it is this important thing about realizing and figuring out like how much is what I truly prioritize. Like we were talking earlier about priorities. You can have
Mm-hmm.
all these competing priorities, but once you know what goes on your pizza, you're like the sausage guy, right? And you know you want your
Mm-hmm.
mushrooms on there. You can't also put anchovies and all these other things, or you break down the pizza and you also lose a little bit of integrity to what it is.
Yeah.
So when we look at our life, I think that there's space for us to really look at our priorities as yeah, we can have these main ones, but we can't have every single one.
I love that. Thank you for that
Yeah,
analogy. That was very interesting.
yeah. You'll never think of pizza the same way again.
No, definitely not. Can you take us back to the version of you who believed achievement would eventually bring peace? And what did her life look like? And what was she chasing without even realizing it?
Oh gosh. See, I told you I love your questions because they're so deep and
Thank you.
important. I think anyone who's chasing achievement is chasing validation that they didn't get in some form when they were younger. And it's really wild how much of our adult behavior is shaped by our childhood
Mm-hmm.
experiences. But people who tend to have that high achievement mindset, they're often looking for something that feels like enough because
Yeah.
their whole life it somehow felt to them like they weren't enough. And I think I also want to make a statement about that in that I don't think that it's ever going to all of a sudden heal and be completely gone.
No.
So like I'm dealing with my version of that right now. And
Mm-hmm.
like I think that the healing comes in levels and layers. So like I think a lot of times when people say something like, "Oh, I've healed that," or "I've completely healed that," that can be a feeling we have, but that's never really the case. So I, in my own way, I'm still healing from that like achievement wound and like trying
Mm-hmm.
to figure out like, yes, I do have a whole lot of things I want to achieve. That where's the part of that's like truly my personality versus
Mm-hmm.
the part of that's more like seeking validation or seeking to be enough. And it's a balance,
Yeah.
like all
Yeah.
things. So it's finding that place of like, where is this authentic to me versus where is this not? I work with a trauma coach who I want to introduce you to, by the way. I think she'd be a great
Sure.
guest for you. But I was working with a trauma coach, and we were looking at my trauma and some responses I'd given to a questionnaire she gave me. And when we were looking at a specific question around, I think it was, I skip lunch and I don't take breaks when I work. Right.
Mhm.
And those were things that I'd identified with. And this time when we were looking at it, because we've been working together for quite a few months, I looked at it and I was like, yeah, but I tried the other way and I don't actually like it. Meaning, so, and I do take lots of breaks and I do have lunch, but I have one day a
Mhm.
week where it's like my deep dive immersive day. And I just focus on the things that I want,
Yeah.
type of thing. And I was building breaks into there because that's the healthy thing to do, right? It was basically like the spinach on my pizza, right? Like the thing I'm supposed to add in, right? But then when
Mhm.
I looked at it, I was like, I don't actually like this. I just want to I love this feeling of just being able to dive deep into my day, have the
Mhm.
blinders on. I'm very introverted and like just work. Like I love this day. It's so like adding something that somebody else told me to add to it was not right. And so when I was
Yeah.
looking through these questions with her again, or these statements that I'd agreed with, I was like, I still agree with this, but I own this now. And so I think that's like that level of figuring out where achievement is like what you think it should be
Mhm.
versus what it's actually what you want. And
Yeah.
that's the wound that I think I'm going to be working with for life. And yeah, my realization in it is that it is something that I'm going to work through for life, but
Mhm.
also that there can be parts of it that I can fully just own and say, this
Yeah.
is mine and I want this. And
Mhm.
and then this is where it's what I call shouldy, which is like SHOULDY, something that I feel like I should have, not something that I truly want.
People should on themselves all the
All
time.
day. Yeah, it stinks.
Yeah. Yeah, and that healing journey is lifelong. The healing never ends. You never stop working on that, and because healing is not a linear journey.
No. Don't
So
you wish sometimes that
it's
it was though?
yeah, for sure, absolutely, but that's the way it goes. That's life. That's how things work. We have to continually work on ourselves. Now, you being trained in business, you've mastered the culinary arts, you now work with energy and coaching. And so, what has each chapter taught you about control? And what finally taught you about surrender?
Control. Being in the business world, I think it is a lot of this very male dominated alpha like force energy, like what we were talking about with
Yeah.
hustle culture earlier.
Yeah.
Coaching, culinary taught me a lot about that creativity or that bringing something in that's yours. I worked a lot in San Francisco, so a lot of my philosophy in food is like local and seasonal. So like when I look at life ingredients, I think about what's around me, what's available right now, and what is in this season. Like these are the things I'm going
Mhm.
to make something out of. And
Right.
I lead that into the coaching with that's how I look at life is almost through the lens of food. And coaching really taught me a lot about okay, where do I begin to not just look at work by myself, but work with a higher power or work with other people and like figure out like
Mhm.
where that has been uncomfortable for me. And like looking at one of the things that I talk about in my time energy focused journal and with my blueprint is the importance of not just looking for more time energy and focus through what I can do, but through how I can get help or get support is what I call it. And I look at three different forms of support: people support, system support, so for your actual like business or your own
Mhm.
operations, and then also nervous system, which I don't see many people talk about the need for nervous system
Right.
support, but that as a trauma informed person, I feel is very important for us to look at when we're thinking about success is like the impact
For
of the nervous
sure.
system. What taught me surrender? My gosh. I would say probably my greatest teacher always is my daughter in that. I don't know where she got it from, but she's very headstrong. She's very
I wonder.
tenacious. I wonder.
I wonder.
So her tenacity and her determination teach me a lot about where I can let go.
Mm.
And same I'd say with like co-parenting because there's a whole life she has that's outside of me
Yeah.
that I don't have control over and that I want to have control over, but I don't. And so it's my work to figure to like surrender to as long as she's well, that's
Mhm.
then all is good.
Yeah.
And also And also realizing that like her, like in that idea of like co-creation where I was working with a higher power on my things, like her life is a co-creation as well. And
Yep.
our life together is a co-creation where she gets to decide a little bit of what happens. I get to decide a little bit of what happens.
Yeah.
And like the universe gets to decide some of the conditions that neither of us has control over.
Very true. That releasing of control is a very tough thing and surrendering for sure.
Yeah.
It's a learned skill set. And I think that's another thing. We continually learn
Yeah.
these things and practice them and become better at them as we go.
Yeah. It, like you said, it's never a final thing, is what I'm hearing.
No, definitely not.
A lesson
Definitely
for
not.
all of us for life. Yay.
Yeah. What was the hardest pattern for you to unlearn as you moved from before performance-based living into embodied leadership?
I think again, this is one like I continue to learn it, but it's that effort pendulum that we were talking about, swinging from hustle
Mhm,
to slow down. I think is one of the hardest things for me to figure out still that balance because I lean
mhm,
towards hustle, and so the work I think for any of us is wherever we find ourselves leaning is just to build the skill set to go the other way. So I would say that for me, it's continuing to learn to trust that like other people will show up, that the resources show up, that like my higher power is working with me on and we're and co-creating with me in what I want to create. So
mhm.
I think that's still just very hard sometimes. I wish I could be like, oh no, I've healed all that stuff. It's done. Like I
Like those other
sit
people,
here and
like those other people that say they've healed.
yeah, I just sit here and chill all day. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I wish I had more chill, but I don't.
It's okay. Again, it's a learned practice. There is a lot of power in that pause. Like you said, it's not about going so far the other way to the other end of the extreme where it's all just relaxed time, but it's finding that happy medium between both because neither of them are healthy for us.
Yeah.
It's about finding the balance and yes, working hard towards what you want, doing the things you love, though it doesn't feel like work, and then also learning to take the rest when you're listening to your body. When your body tells you you need to rest, we have to listen. And you have to be in tune with your body. You have to be in tune with your intuition. All of these things to learn to do that. So it's about honing all of these skills to become more well rounded for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's about that well-roundedness, the balance, like you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. What does it mean to lead from wholeness instead of compensation?
Gosh, I wish I knew. My perspective on that is that I know you're asking about. I'm not completely clueless on it, but of course, I would be honest and say I still don't know.
Mm,
But I think that is part of my life work is figuring out and feeling whole. Because like I was saying, I think one of my childhood wounds is a feeling of not enoughness. Leading from wholeness, I think, is in a when you're in a space of overcompensation, which is where I tend to lean, is
mhm,
like figuring out where to put a little bit more restraint or stop myself a little earlier
mhm,
than like I might feel like I need all these different things and like all these embellishments, and it's like where is what I have enough. And I think again of food because a lot of times when I look at like professional food versus like home cooks like put all the same things in over and over again, and chefs, they actually look at integrity of ingredient and less on the plate. So like
okay.
they're looking at like how do I make the things that are going to be on this plate shine and embody that enoughness. I think that we all are looking to embody. Maybe we're not
Mhm,
all looking to embody it. Maybe it's just my stuff. But
maybe.
how do I respect this ingredient for what it is, let it shine,
Mhm,
and in that space of knowing that it can shine, let it shine with a few complementary ingredients instead of feeling like it also needs this thing and that thing and this thing. Like I think when we're in a level of immaturity in that wholeness to completion spectrum or compensation spectrum, that
mhm,
what we're really looking at is figuring out like where is that restraint? Where can I see what I have as truly enough? And
mhm.
as a result, where can I hold back where I think I need to add?
Self-awareness.
Still learning.
It's so important. Yeah, of course, absolutely. Life is about learning. We are all on that learning journey. What's the difference in your mind between leading through presence and leading through performance? And how can one cultivate leading through presence?
I love this question. I was hoping you'd ask it. because my word for this year is present. And I chose it because when I choose a word of the year, I like to look at all of the ways that this word could be understood, right? So present, for me, I want to do more presentations. I want to be speaking more, those different things. I also look at present in the term of presence, like you're saying, and then also present in the term of gifts, and then also present in the terms of the present moment. So I share that because I think that leading through performance is leading through what you're going to get out of it, right? And not even just simply from the achievement sense, but from the recognition sense or that feeling of enoughness. I think we when we're performing, we're wanting what we do to be enough. Whereas when we're being present, I think what we're doing is we're just owning things as they are. We're looking at life's ingredients as something that we can just appreciate right now. We're not in the season of winter, which is when we're recording right now, and wishing for summer produce. We're enjoying what's available right now. And I think that leading through presence is a lot about stripping away some of that feeling of, oh, I used to be younger. It was easier for me to do this. It was easy. But before I had kids, this was what life was like. Or before this stage of life, I was able to do these things and to meet ourselves where we are. I think that's what leading through presence means. And one of the ways that this came up, or that I kind of learned this in the last year, was when I got diagnosed with complex PTSD, not just, and it makes sense, right? Like when you all my silly catalysts, you're like, oh yeah, of course this lady's got some complex stuff. But for me, I only knew about the PTSD side of it. And when I understood that it was complex, I was like, oh, this is something that's been affecting me in a way. And it helped me realize that it wasn't just like one event that was traumatic for me. It was multiple events. And that in a way that when CPTSD, which I didn't know, was a form of neurodiversity, meaning that like all that trauma actually changes the way that your brain works. And that for me was a relief to learn, because I was like, oh, instead of thinking that my brain can work like it did before all this stuff happened to me, I can meet my brain where it is and say, this is where I'm at. And how do I continue to move forward knowing that this is the situation that I have? And that for me is what leading through presence is. It's like, okay, I'm going to accept what's available to me right now. I'm going to accept what's around me and know that these are the ingredients I somehow have to make something with. And I can't look at last season and all the things I used to have and all that stuff. I got to stay here and look at, how do I lead with what's around? And I think that leads to a form of authenticity, as opposed to when we're trying to use last season's ingredients right now. That ends up being more performative. It's about being present. It's about coming up with something, creating from the space that we're in.
I love that. Yeah, very true. It is. Everything's about the present moment. That's all we have is the present moment. People get so stuck in what happened in the past, and you can't change it. It's already done. It's already happened. The future hasn't even arrived yet, and we're stressing and we've got anxiety over what could happen that most likely probably won't even happen the way you think it's going to. So be in the present moment, because you're going to miss so much if you're not there.
I think about that.
That's all we have.
Yeah. Like right now, I'm grateful my parents are alive. I'm grateful that Ollie is home. I'm grateful. What are the things that are here right now? And I think that you're right. Like it's a gratitude for what's available that presence is ultimately embodying.
For sure. That's all we really have. No one's promised tomorrow. You don't know that you're going to be here tomorrow. Nobody knows that. So be grateful for what you have in this moment. In your mind, Diana, what is the process that best supports leadership development?
What is the process that best supports leadership development? See, look at how great your questions are. I keep saying it, but it's really true.
Thank you.
The process that best supports leadership development, I think, is self-reflection and honesty. I think that being willing to accept both honesty, for me, honesty means accepting the truths that are real for you, but also accepting what other people have to say, like accepting feedback. I think knowing that not all of that is necessarily about you or for you, but looking at feedback as something that's, okay, this is something here to teach me something. So looking for honesty in that kind of sense. And then also that self-reflection part, I think, is built into that, because it's like, some of this is about me and some of this is about the other person and their answer of whatever they say about me growing as a leader triggers some stuff in me. So that trigger of what's being said that I'm taking into something else that isn't what this person is even about. How do I begin to separate that and figure out where am I being triggered? What is my truth here? And where is part of this that other person's stuff? And giving them space also as a leader to grow through it. But in order to do that, I think part of it, like whether it's co-parenting or whether it's you as a leader at home or whether it's you as a leader in your business, it's like it is that figuring out of, okay, how do I support that other person with this? And part of it is with a self-reflection, letting that be your space for also your own emotional regulation. Because I think in that you don't want to dump all your stuff.
Definitely not.
And you got to figure out, okay, what's for me in terms of trigger and growth, and what's for them.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. How has your personal journey shaped the way you approach transformation and leadership in your work, in your business?
I feel like I look at everything through lenses of practicality.
And food.
And food, because it's what I've looked at my entire life, right? So I always look at things from a business perspective, like when I look at growth or those things. And I think that's something that's unique to all of us. Like all of our life experiences sometimes can seem like they're maybe not relevant to what it is we're doing now, but I actually think it's all relevant. And it's us figuring out and finding that like owning that the common thread is us. Like even in you, right? With your work as a photographer, all those different things, and then and your own life story around why amplifying women's voices is important to you. That's your sauce, right? Like it's your history, and you putting that lens forward because of what matters to you. Like you were saying, people looking for that sense of purpose. I think that one thing that stuck out, or that I've been like saying in my head with like more depth or more weight recently, is like, it's not that things are in the way, it's that the things are the way, right? It's a sense of this is where we're at, right? And rather than hating what seems to be in the way, what if it became part of the path? And all of us, I think we tend to hate the windies, right? Like we're talking about healing and it's not linear, and does that suck sometimes? But like at the same time, that was the human experience that our souls came here for, was for us to go through that, because that soul version of us doesn't get to feel and experience this. And you're talking about the present moment, we only get this feeling for so long.
Very true.
It's our work to work through that and to embody that and to love ourselves in that experience.
It's all part of the journey, all of it. Every windy speed bump, all of it. It's all part of it.
Yeah.
It's all part of the journey.
Yeah.
If you could change one belief or behavior in the world of leadership, what would it be?
I think it would have to do with hard work, effort being somehow the solution, right? Like hustle culture is not the answer, and slowing down completely is not the answer. And I don't think I even finished this thought when I was telling the pizza analogy, but the thing about people is some of them do want all the toppings on there, right? And rather than feel bad about that, what we need to do then is design a stronger pizza. We need to we need a deep dish, right? We need structure around it. And I think that for me, instead of thinking that having more revolves around having or doing more, it's having more revolves around having more structure in order to hold it, because otherwise the container is brittle. So we need both like physical structure, right? Like things that are holding us, people that are holding us outside of ourselves. And then also we need to maybe look at our own selves and see, where can I redesign to increase my capacity? And for me, a lot of that is the nervous system, energy healing kind of work, reprogramming our subconscious, like healing from a lot of the stuff that's basically leaking because of the beliefs that we have around ourselves not being enough and all that.
Building that stronger foundation.
Yeah.
What long-term societal impacts do you believe will result from more women stepping into leadership positions?
Your question, see? Do people compliment you on your questions all the time? I just got to know.
Not all the time, but sometimes, yes.
They're just so wonderful.
Thank you.
So what impact do I think we'll see? I think there will be that step away from the masculine, like doing and all that, and a
Hmm.
step towards more of the receiving and the slowing down. But again, I think it is this balance that is really important. So as we swing the pendulum one way or the other, looking again at like, where do I come up with this place where I don't want to add anymore and I don't want to take, like, where adding more will take away, and we're
Right.
taking away will also just cause loss as well. So I think that there will be this swing of the pendulum towards more receiving, more of that understanding. And it's our work as well in that lens of looking at, okay, but where is my space in that? And and integrating the masculine and the feminine in our world, in our personal world, because all of us have,
Yeah.
like when we're talking about feminine energy, it like women
Hmm.
are not just all inherently feminine energy. It's a blend, and it is this figuring out this balance of like where like how do both work together, because ultimately they work most well, they're optimized when they work together.
For sure. And we all have both within us. And I think the only way that there's going to be any change or differences made of huge impact is if we do come together and work together, both masculine and feminine,
Yeah.
work together as human
Yeah.
beings, because men have different skill sets and different things than women, obviously. And women have things that men need. So it goes both ways. So if we come together and work together, the difference and the impact is going to be that much more.
Yeah.
And we need to do that. More men need to step up and stand beside our women and support women and work together. It's the only way anything's going to get done properly.
Yeah. And you're a
It's so
full
important.
embodiment of that.
Thank you. Thank you. I received that. What is one tip or takeaway that you can share that listeners could implement immediately to start embracing their own inner leader and reconditioning their mind for the success that they want?
I think it's this idea of realizing that when we want something, it's very important that we're looking at how do we get where we want to go from where we truly are. So, not resisting our reality, not resisting the obstacles and the challenges that we face, because all of us have our own, but instead having this frame of mind shift that's okay, this is the stuff. This is my
Mhm.
limitation. This is my challenge. This is my tough stuff, my tough ingredient. How do I work with what I have instead of thinking that I have ideal conditions or that everything is perfect or that I'm going to be perfect? How do I work with the real version of me? And how do I create a plan that works with my reality? So if there's nothing else that someone takes away, I hope that like they look at like how do I work with what I have? How do I embrace the ingredients that are available to me instead of cursing them or wishing that it was a different season of life? Like, how do I,
Yeah.
or hating what happened in the past? It's like, how do I own this? How do I work with what is available and make a realistic plan forward, knowing that none of this stuff is in the way? It is the way.
I love that. What part of themselves do powerful men and women most often abandon on their climb to success, do you think?
I think that the climb to success, a lot of times, at least for me, has been about what other people wanted or what other people told me I was supposed to want, as opposed to what I truly wanted. I think that people kind of insert ideas into our head about
Mhm.
what we want. And like I think about that in terms of surviving 9/11, like things that
Mhm.
seemed the most important to me were like what society told me, like boys and clothes and college and those things. And I think that if we were to think, okay, imagine that the people I love, or the things that I have right now, my physical abilities, my family, those things, imagine those basic things were taken away, what would obviously show up to me as not important. So I think there's this need for really looking at our true priorities and figuring out like what matters to you, because it's not the same for everybody.
No,
and
very true.
and that also is part of our, like our recipe or our unique cuisine, or what makes us special is like what you care about is not the same things that I care about, and
Right.
not in the same measure even, right? Like we could care about some of the
Mhm.
same things and we can both think that they matter differently for us. So I think
Yeah.
it's that figuring out of what are our priorities, and then looking at that landscape of this is the present. So how am I coming
Mhm.
from where I am to where I want to go with what I
Yeah.
have, and knowing what I want to carry out of this?
Yeah. Beautiful. How do you integrate? You work with energy psychology, and so how do you integrate energy psychology into high pressure decision making environments where time and stakes are very high?
Yeah. I do this is something I do every day. And
Hmm.
it's something that when I learned it was really powerful for me because I realized it was something I could do and nobody would even notice. I still remember the days that I first discovered the first form of energy psychology I ever learned was emotional freedom technique or tapping,
Okay,
which
yep.
is where you are stimulating different energy meridian points on your body to release stuck energy, limiting beliefs, all those different things. And I found it really powerful. And what I thought that was really cool about it was at the time that I first discovered it, I didn't have much of a connection to my emotions. And part of that was because
Hmm.
I grew up with a deadly peanut allergy. I learned early on that if I feel fear in that moment, the whole experience amplifies and actually gets more dangerous for me.
Right.
As a kid, I translated that in my lack of awareness or lack of understanding to mean that my emotions were dangerous. And emotional freedom technique, energy psychology. So the form I practice is called thought field therapy, which is
Okay.
developed by a clinical psychologist who's worked with like all different kinds of forms of trauma. What I really liked about it as well was that I didn't need to fully understand the emotion at the time in order to experience release. And when I chose the method that I was going to practice, I chose thought field therapy because it was something where I liked that I didn't even need to speak or I didn't even need to know what the trauma or the thing was in order to release it. And how this relates to your question about those high pressure environments is that what I like about this is that I can be just tapping on the side of my hand here, getting centered and grounded. This is a point that's connected to our small intestine. I can be
Hmm.
stimulating this. I don't even have nobody even has to see it. So if you're watching in video, I'm like literally just rubbing the side of my hand. And you can, so if you were to follow, if you look at the palm of your hand and you follow that line that leads all the way to the side of your hand close to your pinky,
Hmm.
you just were to massage right there without anybody knowing. That's a way for you to begin to get centered and grounded so that the decisions that you're
Mm.
making in those high pressure environments come from a place of centering and grounding. So a lot of times when I'm working with high performers, it's something that I teach them how to do. They can be doing this really
Mm.
subtly, nobody even knows. There are even ways that you can do it where you're not physically stimulating it, you're stimulating it mentally because of the connections between our brain and body. That does take
Hmm.
time develop,
Yeah.
but there are different ways where we can use this. And what I love about it is that it works instantly. So it's something that where we lower the emotional tension immediately, but with
Hmm.
prolonged use, which is where I really love to step into it, that's where we begin to see subconscious beliefs, old patterns, limiting beliefs, things that blocked us subconsciously before those things begin to disintegrate, and it happens very fast.
So you were saying you're rubbing that meridian point.
Mhm.
What is is there a difference, if at all, between actually tapping on it or rubbing it? Is there a difference? Does it matter which you do?
No, what matters is the
No?
stimulation. And then
Okay.
where emotional freedom technique and thought field therapy differ is emotional freedom technique is more of like a general specific spots that you're tapping on every single time while you're expressing a feeling and then
Hmm.
verbally shifting that into an idea that you want to begin to take in. Where
Okay.
thought field therapy differs is it's more diagnostic. So it's based on specific emotions that somebody may have or specific, we call them perturbations, but I don't know, like just stuff stuck inside us.
Yeah.
And that actually thought field therapy, I can actually work directly with somebody with a person's body and by
Okay.
listening to their body figure out what it is that they need. So they don't even need to tell me anything
Right.
to be able to clear what's blocking them, which is really powerful and exciting.
That's wild. And so how long have you been practicing that?
6 years, 7 years now. Yeah.
Wow. Very cool. But you use EFT as well.
Yeah, I use both, but I'm
Hmm.
certified as a practitioner in thought field therapy.
Okay. Now, does thought feel tap into EFT at all?
Yeah, so the creator
Yeah.
of emotional freedom technique was a businessman
Yeah.
named Gary Craig. He
Okay.
learned this from Dr. Roger Callahan. They were friends at the time. And being a businessman, he realized I need a way that this can be more marketable and practical in everyday kind of use for people. So
Hmm.
that's where he came in and created something that's okay, we're going to do a single routine every single time. And the verbal part of this begins to matter more. Whereas what Dr. Roger Callahan created in thought field therapy was more something that works even if you don't have the words for something, and works in a clinical setting. So like when I'm doing deeper work with people, I tend towards thought field therapy.
Okay. Very cool. Thank you for explaining that. I
Yeah.
love that. Can you, I know you also touched a little bit on manifestation.
Yeah.
Can you give an example of a manifestation exercise or technique that you use that consistently helps to produce tangible results?
Yeah. Gratitude. Gratitude is my very favorite one. We talked about it a little bit earlier. You can look at it as a manifestation technique, and you can also look at it as a way to reprogram your brain. So it doesn't matter whether you think some people don't like that term or feel like it's fake or whatever. It's also a way to reprogram your brain. So why I say that is because I am a naturally negative thinker. I have a photo of me from like Disneyland when I was like maybe 5 years old. And it's clear that from that time I grew up with RBF, resting bitch face, right? Like that was like just the way that I came out. So the idea of positive psychology, think positive, all that stuff, just read for me for the longest like bullshit. I was like, no, this is some like fluffy stuff. It doesn't actually make any difference. But when I read The Power of Positive Psychology, when I was in that place of, okay, what I'm doing is not working, I got to look somewhere else for answers.
Yeah.
Gratitude stuck out to me as one of those things where I was originally very resistant. I was like, this seems silly. You want me to say I'm grateful for stuff and like all of a sudden magically change? And yeah, they do. And in this way, I teach people to do it, and I actually teach them to do it very intentionally. So if you want to experience the feeling of gratitude, there are two different things that I teach when you're wanting it for a specific manifestation. And the first is that you want to not just express gratitude generally, but express gratitude for what it is that you want and in the form that it's showing up right now. So meaning you want a full client roster, you want $1 million, but you only have 10,000. Instead of being mad, and I call it stomping on the sprouts, like being mad that you don't have all the stuff, be like, oh, having the 10,000 is what leads me to the million, right? Or having this little piece of it is what ultimately grows into that. And I want to appreciate this little bit because this is what is going to grow into the bigger thing. So first is appreciating what you have right now, right? I feel like we've talked about that all throughout this. And then the second is to be really specific in the appreciation. So you don't want to just say, for example, I'm grateful for my family or I'm grateful for my clients. There's an amplification of the feeling of gratitude that you get when you're really specific. So a lot of times my clients will be like, oh yeah, I'm grateful for my client. If they want to grow their business, they want more clients or they want more support, right? I'm grateful for the support I have. Okay, be specific. Give me an example of one thing recently that happened that you're grateful for in terms of the support that you've received from your staff or whatever. And then when they come up with that feeling of gratitude just becomes amplified. They're actually able to feel it in a deeper way because they're reliving that experience. And that basically triggers or trains our mind to start to see what it is that we're wanting. So we're building this feeling, but we're also being very clear and specific. And yeah, I'm wanting the support. I'm wanting more of the things that I want to show up for me. And I'm truly feeling grateful for the way that they're showing up right now. I'm not grateful for something that doesn't actually exist. I'm grateful for what I have. And here's why.
Sharing that, like you said, it triggers that feeling of it happening, and your brain doesn't know that it's not actually happening. No. It just knows the feeling.
Yeah.
And the universe loves specificity. So be more specific about the things you're grateful for and the things that you want. When you are speaking about, I want to manifest this or I want to manifest that, you have to be very specific.
Yeah, specificity. It's important. And then also, and like really feeling into that feeling is ultimately where you're trying to get out of gratitude, is like you really want to feel like, wow, I am rich, right?
Embody it.
Yeah, like I always say, it's fullness doesn't come from outside. It's this feeling of fullness now. And
for sure.
Leads to more showing up for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned your journal earlier. Please tell us all about the journal.
Yeah. So I created this time energy focused journal. It's part of what I call the time energy focus system. So the journal itself is a daily practice, takes no more than 15 minutes a day, because I know us busy people, we don't have a ton of time to journal or write. And it has really specific intentional prompts to help a person lead to and stay really focused on what they want. one of the things that I love the most about it that's really unique in the journal is that we write down action steps, but the action steps are very intentional and specific. What I mean about that is we know there's lots of stuff we can do to achieve our dream or to achieve our goals. Typically, there's something that you could do that wouldn't take more than 5 minutes that would make a big impact, but that we're avoiding. And so the journal helps us figure out what are the things that don't take a ton of time, because I don't have a ton of time. What are the things that that don't take a ton of time, but are high leverage and have a high return on investment? And how do I schedule that step into my calendar as opposed to doing just all the things that are going to matter? And when we begin to do that, when we focus on the things that are real fulcrums, like really move the needle for us, that's where we begin to see a lot of impact to our resources so that we can have and do all the things that we want. And for me, one of the things I found that was missing from this system before I created this, because I've been doing this with my clients for a long time, was a plan that was, like I was saying, really rooted in practicality and understanding where my limitations are or that person's limitations are. And so I actually created a blueprint. It's called the Time Energy Focus Blueprint. And I love this blueprint because I created it when I was in a place of complete mental fatigue and I don't even know what my goals are. I don't know how to clarify them. I don't even have the mental bandwidth to think about them. So if somebody feels that way, that's a great indicator that the blueprint could actually be really helpful for them. And what it does, I created a custom GPT. So in ChatGPT, I created a custom program and basically programmed my brain and the way that I look at problem solving into this so that it actually helps people figure out what are your biggest roadblocks, what are the biggest things draining your time, what is it that you ultimately want. It helps you create a vision when you have no experience doing that. It helps you create goals from that vision based on where you are right now. And then it also helps you create milestones or mile markers that tell you that you're on the way. So we have a 1-year goal, a 3-month mile marker that's if I'm at this level and I'm barely moving, this is what I know. If I did this and stabilize this in a realistic way, that would lead me where I want to go. And this is my 6-month mile marker that's going to lead me where I want to go. And then the other thing about it that I really love is this thing that I created that's called the Teflon Action Plan. It's a 1-week action plan that you take immediately that brings you immediate time, which is T, relief, E, energy relief, F, focus relief, and then LON is leverage, optimization, and nervous system. So leverage is how do I leverage the people around me to amplify or to expand my time, energy, and focus? How do I optimize? How do I optimize systems, workflows, and operations so that my time, energy, and focus expand? And then how do I optimize my nervous system? How do I expand my personal capacity so that the success and the growth that I'm experiencing feels safe? Because if it doesn't feel safe, we will eventually sabotage it and destroy it. And I learned that from personal experience. That's why the nervous system is really more important than we think.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing all of that. We'll put in the show notes the link where people can purchase the journal when your episode's released and they can check that all out.
Love it. Thanks so much, Brett. I had so much fun.
Of course. My pleasure. What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
So I think of my mom and her. I remember when I was little, just seeing her. She's not a good cook, but she's somebody who would always look around at what she had and figure out ways to be creative with it and make more out of something than what it was originally. And I feel like that was a really important lesson for me to learn was how do I take what I have and make more out of it, and applying creativity and thinking about, okay, if this is my problem, these are my constraints, how do I come up with that thing? I think creativity in spaces of feeling limited is my superpower.
I love it. How do you define success?
That I think is, I'm going to use a food one again. It's to taste. It's to taste. So what I mean by that is to taste is a culinary term that means to your level of satisfaction or to where you think it tastes good, right? Success is what you think tastes good, right? It's what you prefer. It's what you love. And that is unique for all of us. And it's part of our unique blueprint, right? Like all of us have something different. I remember I was playing with these kids once, and one of them had a complete fascination with bugs, loved bugs, right? And that's not a normal thing to love. And I just was like, wow, that's so cool. I've never met somebody who loved bugs this way. That's a really weird thing to love. It's not like pizza that almost everybody loves. So I think I love that because I think it's our unique humanity coming through. So I think it is a sense of like when you're authentic to yourself, when you are unapologetic about what you love, when you are doing things to your taste, that is success.
Love it. What does the word empowerment mean to you?
I think it's that owning of, yeah, I like how this tastes. I like how this is. It's a full embodiment of, oh yeah, other people say this isn't good or it should be more like this. No, this is what I want. And being unapologetic in that knowledge of, yeah, this is my life, this is my taste, and I'm happy to embody it.
Love it. Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section.
Ooh.
So the next grouping of questions just be
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 word answer type thing, okay? What is one of your favorite ways to celebrate?
Dancing with my daughter.
One word to describe your 2025.
Eye-opening.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
Authenticity.
One book that changed your life.
Growth mindset, I think is what it's called. Carol Dweck.
Okay. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would that be?
Fun.
What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
Wit.
One word that defines the woman you are becoming.
Present.
That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I created a bonus question that I did not send you ahead of time. What is one habit, ritual, or practice that has been an absolute game changer in your personal growth?
Feeling my emotions and processing them in the space, like letting it be safe to feel that I can, it's not following me around for years.
If you were to introduce yourself to me without mentioning your occupation, where you're from, your ethnicity, your religion, any of those superficial day-to-day markers that we use, how would you introduce yourself to me?
Hey, let's play.
Love it. If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
This might be the hardest one you've asked. What do you wish people knew about you now that nobody gets to see?
Go ahead.
That I'm shining and that I'm happy, but there's still grief there.
And that's okay. That's part of the journey.
Amen.
If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
My grandmother.
Beautiful. What is your why?
My why is to not waste.
Okay. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Don't compromise your standards.
And lastly, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your tribe, your corner of the world, your people, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
Have fun. Make it yours.
Beautiful. Diana, thank you so much for being here today, for showing up, for shining, for sharing your beautiful story, your journey, the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do. It has been an absolute pleasure and an honor having you on the show. Thank you so much for the conversation. I've enjoyed every moment of it, and I'm grateful to call you a friend and have you as a member of the Empowerography community.
Thanks, Brad. Keep doing what you do. It's very meaningful work.
Thank you. Thank you. Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast, a platform that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. Today, my guest has been Diana Bejasa. She is a woman who travels the country and the world helping men and women in executive positions overcome adversity and cultivate sustainable work-life balance, both personally and professionally, using proven, reliable, and repeatable techniques, including manifestation and energy psychology. Thank you so much, Diana. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca, follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast, and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.